Behind me is the Coral Sea, and this is the last time I'm going to see the sea for the next 2,400 kilometers before getting down to Melbourne, Victoria. So this is Townsville. I've lived here for 5 years, but I've decided to make the move down to southern Tasmania to a little town called Margate. I'd originally thought I was going to be getting removalists, but after doing some cost analysis, it is literally half the price to drive down there. The goodbye was obviously a bit sad. I work from home, so I see my family every single day. And my boy in particular, I've never been away from him since he was born. But I've got some driving to do, so this is gonna be fun. Whatever happens, this is gonna be a very, very fun trip. This is Australia. Pretty big place, lots of distance to cover. Up here in the northeast corner in far north Queensland is the tropical city of Townsville. This is my starting location. All the way south in Melbourne, Victoria is the ferry terminal where the Spirit of Tasmania connects to the mainland. As you can see, there's a pretty long way to go, and besides doing the touristy trip along the east coast, there are two main paths. The shortest trip is 2,478 kilometers, but I'd read the roads aren't as good and there aren't as many servos along the way. So last minute I decided to take the Gregory Highway instead, just a bit more east, which clocks in at 2,602 kilometers. This gives me an overnight stop at Emerald on the first night, then St George, then Parkes in New South Wales, and finally in Melbourne. After the ferry, I've got to go across Tasmania, but in relation to the rest of the driving, that part's going to be pretty small. While I'm filming this, there are horrific floods going on down in southeast Queensland. And we're obviously seeing a lot of the footage on the news up in Townsville. But I do wonder if sometimes you don't really get a full picture of what those floods look like. So I'm outside Charters Towers now, and this is a flood marker showing one of the worst floods in this region. Right at the top there, 1946. That's how high the water's got in this area. I mean, it's just unreal to imagine the water that high. Since leaving Charters Towers, I'm now traveling south, and there are no cars. I've seen one car in half an hour, so I'm clearly getting more to the less traveled track. We've been going now for 3.5 hours, and there's two things to note. The first is that there is no signal out here. All my music, all my maps, they're not connecting, so something to keep in mind. Other thing is that Luso is doing really well, so I think we're not going to have any problems this trip. Come on, let's go. I'm about an hour out of Emerald. Been driving now for about 5 hours. I've forgotten what it's like to do these long drives. It's been so long. Just got to the campsite now, Emerald Tourist Park. And the first thing I did was ask them if there's any option for shade. Because it is 41 degrees outside, so hopefully I'll get a shady spot. Alright, the tent is up. It is incredibly hot. That tree over there is eventually going to add some shade because the sun's going to go down there. But for now, I think we're just going to go for a walk just to get out of the sun. Now that the sun has finally settled, it's so much more pleasant, and I've actually had a chance to take stock of today. It actually went really well. Once we got into the groove in the second half, it was pretty smooth sailing. So I'm pretty confident now about the rest of the trip and managing with myself and Luso. I'm heading to bed quite early tonight. It's only 7:30, but it's just so hot. It's 35 degrees at the moment, so I don't know how well I'm going to sleep. Tomorrow is a very short drive, so even if I don't get a good night, it's not the end of the world. Not a great night. It was really hot, but I did get some sleep. Alright, time to get started. Okay, we're on our way to St. George. That's going to be the next overnight. It is 6 hours and 18 minutes away, so another relatively short drive, and we got off to a good start this morning, so I'm happy. Just got to the campsite. It starts with a K, I can't remember, it's something tourist park. It's a really nice little site. It's a good little spot right next to a school. Yeah, it's I think this is going to be a much better night. Today's drive went really well, and I'm going to get the camp set up now. What are you barking at, eh? What are you barking at? Last night went really well. I had a really good sleep. Today's going to be great. The goal for today is to get down to Parks in New South Wales, so we're going to be crossing the border. I don't know much about this place, but I do know that there's a very big satellite dish, which I'm really hoping to get to. So we're going to go get some coffee, fill up the tank, and get back on the road. I am in, I'm not sure what this city's called, or town I should say, but I've just filled up again. I'm about 3 hours away from Parks. It's all going well. The weather's starting to look a little gloomy. There was something on the weather report saying that we could see some rain tonight. I've had 2 days of no rain. I'm really hoping to make it 3 out of 3. Coonamble, that's the name of the town, Coonamble. I hope I'm saying that right. I was super keen to come visit this thing today and just have a look. But it is way bigger than I was expecting. We are at Spicer Caravan Park. It's not too far off the main street coming into Parks. And it looks pretty good. I messaged my buddy down in Tassie yesterday and said when I get there, we have to go camping again. I miss this. Day 3, I've now sort of got my routine all set up. Get to the campsite, get everything plugged in, transfer all the media, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Today's ending really early. It's only 7:30, but I'm finding I'm getting to sleep very quickly on this camping trip. I don't know if it's the driving is making me tired or relaxed, but I'm making the most of this while I can get all the sleep in. But tomorrow's the drive down to Melbourne. It's the longest drive, and I'm meeting a friend of mine down there, a fellow woodworker, so I want to get an early night so I can set off tomorrow early. It is a very wet start to the day. We are Auckland, 2 hours south of Parkes, and it's just been raining and raining and raining. This podcast has been getting me through this trip. If anyone's a Scrubs fan, I highly recommend checking it out. We are an hour and a half away from Melbourne. So close now. It's just this last little leg. I'm ready to get this done. It's been a long day of driving. Look at that. So I made it down to Melbourne, and as you can see next to me, it's fellow podcaster of the Shop Store podcast, Brian.
Long overdue.
Yeah, this is actually the first time we haven't actually met in real life, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
it's made the trip pretty worthwhile. So Brian's just been showing me around the shop. Some of it's pretty impressive. Brian's workshop is located on an old weapons storage facility. It's decommissioned now, but he gave me the full tour and history of the place. It was really interesting, and Luso was very happy to be able to get out and go for a good run. So Luso and I just left Brian's place. Thanks again, Brian, for helping out and just giving us something to do before the ferry. We're now just outside the port. I'm going to fill up with some fuel, get some water for Luso because she's going to be in the car tonight, overnight by herself. And then it's time to get onto the ferry, the Spirit of Tasmania. We are down at near a dog park on the boulevard, and I'm just going to give Luso one more run. She's already had a super run with Brian, but this is just going to be one more. The idea being I want her to be super tired before she has to spend the night in the car by herself. 4 days ago, I left the sea, traveled inland, 2,400 kilometers later, and I'm back at the sea. This point was the main milestone. From here, the journey should be pretty straightforward. So it's very welcoming to see the sea and to finally be at this point. If you look all the way out there, that is the Spirit of Tasmania. That's coming into port now. And that's going to be the one that I'm on tonight. Well, so far so good. We got through quarantine. Now it looks like we're just going to go, I think, wait in line before getting onto the actual ship. All right, Lisa. Have a good sleep, and I will see you in the morning. It's now 4 a.m. I managed to get about an hour of sleep. Would have got more if it wasn't for the snoring of the guy next to me. So I've just come downstairs just to have a bit of a wander around, try to pass the time. The sun's starting to come up, and looks like a beautiful morning. Got about half an hour more of sailing, and then my level of cars get to go down first because obviously that's where the pets are. I'm very excited to see Luso. It was cold last night, so it might have been a bit of a rough night for her. But I'm excited. I can see Tasmania right over there, and this trip is almost complete. Did you have a good night? Did you sleep? I'm not going to lie, I was a bit nervous about Luso last night just because she hasn't done something like this before. When I got to her this morning, she was fast asleep. So clearly she had a good night. Alright, Tasmania, we made it. This is now the second time that I'm in Tasmania, and I swear it's even more beautiful than the last time I was here. We're taking a bit of a winding route on the way down to Hobart, just because there's no rush and it's a relatively short drive anyway. So we've come up through the middle. We've been winding up this mountain, as you can see behind me, and it's just amazing. Everywhere you look is a postcard. Just collected the keys to the new place. So now I get to punch in one last address as part of this trip. 24 kilometers. One more. Let's do it. We are here. Whew. 29.33 kilometers. Luso, we made it. All the way from Townsville down to Margate, just south of Hobart. Longest drive I have ever done. Let's go have a beer.